Oftentimes, teachers use nonfiction film and documentaries to help support topics that are being taught in class. Just as often, students use this time in class to take a nap. Understanding documentaries and nonfiction films will help viewers appreciate what is being shown and analyze the film to gain the most out of what they are watching. The difference between a nonfiction and fictional film can often get blurred and be a bit confusing. Take, for example, the movie Borat, which follows a man from Kazakhstan who comes to America to learn about the American culture and document his experience. The film itself presents as a true documentary, but it is in fact fiction. Many films try to present from the first person storytelling perspective, from such films as The Blair Witch Project to Paranormal Activity, and even TV shows such as Modern Family. They look like they are real documentaries, but in fact are not. Most people would argue that real documentaries don't use actors, but that is not always the case. Oftentimes, documentaries will use actors to reenact a scene that the person being interviewed is describing. So, what are the major differences? For the most part, it comes down to the viewer and his or her knowledge that the film being viewed is fiction or nonfiction. There is an expectation with nonfiction and documentaries that the filmmaker is sticking to the facts and not making things up. While documentaries may twist information to make you see things in a certain way, for the most part, you should expect everything in the film to be accurate. When it comes to fiction films, even if the film is based on a true story, the viewer should know that some information might be changed to make the story more engaging. In order to follow and appreciate a documentary, it is important to have an understanding of what to look for when analyzing the film as a whole. You may watch and listen to what is being said, but there are also other elements that filmmakers use that help get their point across. There are three major elements to a nonfiction film: the visual track, the audio track, and the text or graphics track. The visual track is what we see on screen. This includes the people in the film, cutaways to a house, home movies, or pictures of a person's childhood. The visual track serves a purpose, and the audience needs to figure it out. The image on the screen should be analyzed more than just what is on the screen, but also how the director shot it. Why is there a close-up of a person being interviewed? Why is the camera zooming in on the upstairs window of an old black and white photo of a house? As viewers, we need to look at what is on screen and come up with the impact it has on our viewing experience. The audio track includes the voices of the people, as well as the music and the sound effects. The audio helps tell the story and inform the audience. The music acts as a means to set the mood. This is the filmmaker's way of getting the audience to feel a certain way as they are watching the film. While this sets the mood, it can call into question the ethics of the filmmaker. The music can influence how the audience views a particular person or event. If the filmmaker wanted to turn the audience against a person, all he or she would need to do is put in ominous, threatening music in the background as the person is being spoken about or speaking. This could be a form of bias, something the audience needs to analyze and decide on the validity of the filmmaker's argument. Editing is used to condense the interview, footage, and other recordings into a manageable time frame. Most filmmakers of documentaries have hundreds of hours of film that needs to be turned into a 2-hour movie. Editing makes this possible. Along with music, the overall editing could be used to influence the audience to view events a certain way. For example, if the filmmaker wanted to make a person look bad, such as a particular politician, all the filmmaker would need to do is edit the speech so that the only thing the person seems to say are things that make them sound inappropriate or crude. When watching and analyzing film, the audience should be asking why the filmmaker chose to edit the film this way and what the filmmaker left out of the film. Questions to consider when analyzing the editing of a film include: how does the filmmaker feel about the topic? And how does the editing get the filmmaker's purpose across? It is important to note that not all documentaries are done the same way. There are different styles of documentaries and nonfiction, including expository, observational, and interactive. An expository documentary is where the filmmaker simply explains a topic to the audience. He or she would give background to the topic and provide interviews with people who provide more information. The goal of an expository documentary would be to give the audience a deeper insight of the topic. Observational documentaries make the audience feel like they are there in the moment. The film tries to capture real-life situations as they happen. Typically, there are no interviews or questions asked of the subject. There is minimal editing as well as minimal additions of a visual track other than what is being recorded. Reality shows, such as Big Brother, utilize this form of filming. With that said, the audience should still question whether or not what is being filmed is genuine. The third documentary style is interactive, in which the filmmaker influences what the people say and do and how they act. This would include reality shows such as Candid Camera, where the filmmaker puts people in certain situations and sees how they react. Another example would be the filmmaker films him or herself take on or protest a specific topic. This would be mostly relatable to the film Super Size Me, in which the filmmaker films himself eating only fast food for a specific period of time. He is documenting the world he is directly creating. While this can be effective, informative, and entertaining, the perspective of the filmmaker and his or her impact on the environment may lead to questions on the validity of what is happening. If the filmmaker makes it happen, is it still valid? Simply showing a film and watching it is not as effective if you do not know the techniques used in the filmmaking process or understand their meaning. Documentaries and other nonfiction films offer us the opportunity to learn about a subject we were not aware of before, discuss it, and possibly let it influence our lives in some way. Next time the teacher shows a documentary in class or it comes on at home, do not simply pass it off as an opportunity for a good nap. Try analyzing these techniques discussed in the video and see what you get out of it.